Yo, what's going on, snipers, and welcome back to our Edmonton Oilers Throwback 2010 franchise mode here in NHL 25. So last episode, if you did not catch it, we had the draft and re-sign stage. And for the most part, we're probably going to be maintaining our roster going to next season. But in this episode, we are going to have to make some tough decisions because if you guys didn't catch the last episode, we also drafted another young, good defenseman, which makes her an absolute logjam on this defensive core. And a lot of these guys are really young and decent, but we have to make some tough decisions with them. It's kind of similar to with my Islanders series, how back in the day I had to get rid of some people, even though they were younger. We are definitely in that same type of predicament with this series. So my plan is to probably play Lyon still in the AHL, which is the guy we drafted in last episode because he's a really nice overall at the gate. He's technically NHL ready, but I think it might be better for his development to get at least 1 year in the AHL before we at least get him into the NHL because we do have a lot of left-handers on this team. So giving guys like Parayko and Mackey more of a chance might make sense, or Rodriguez for that matter. So we are probably going to have to think about trading somebody else in the top 4 and all that, but it's going to be a very tough decision regardless. But I'm hoping at least since a lot of these guys are younger, maybe they'll have some decent trade value, which can net us something pretty good in return. So that's probably all we're going to be doing in this episode, and then obviously starting up the next season, just because pretty much we have our roster set in stone everywhere else for the most part. We do have a lot of cap space as well, so we technically should probably bring in at least a cap whale in this episode. That might be one thing we look for, just kind of find like an AHL where we could give a lot of money to. But aside from that, this team really does not need anything. So we'll probably have pretty much the same roster as we had last season going into next season, except for a few defensive adjustments. So should be interesting to see what our team's looking like at that point. But anyways, before we get into free agency and making potentially some big trades with the defensive core, let's get your guys' comments, see what you guys have to say about last episode, and then we'll see what we end up doing. So the first and only comment is from Sour Taco. Says, nothing worth trading for nor signing in free agency. At this point, run your young defensemen and trade away the excess goods for picks. Then perhaps you could package said picks into a first rounder from a team that will be willing to end up having a lottery selection where you could grab that stud defenseman. So he's saying to trade away the excess defenseman for good picks, and then we can maybe package those good picks to get an even better pick. So that might not be a bad idea, especially because if there's a good defenseman in a draft class or something like that, maybe we could package those good picks to move up into like the top 10 or something like that and grab ourselves somebody that actually might have elite potential. So that might be what we definitely look into, but I'm still not too sure exactly which defenseman I really want to move out. Like, we're going to have to do a lot of micromanaging, I think, in this part of the episode, at least trying to determine which defenseman makes the most to trade. So let's get into that and try and see who we think we should be trading away from this team. So honestly, I'd say Justin Falk is one of these guys that's not on the block. He's a right-handed defenseman, and he's our best defenseman by far. So I think he's definitely somebody I am not thinking of trading away. Also, he has a high cap hit, and we kind of need the salary cap anyways. I think it makes sense, though, to basically for the top 6 pairing, basically, since I said Lyon would be playing in the AHL, it would come down to basically deciding between guys like Mackey, Parayko, Rodriguez, and then also Tremblay potentially too, which is an interesting one. Tremblay was a very high up pick, so there is a chance that he should probably be in our lineup out of those guys, but I do also like the defensive play of somebody like Rodriguez as well, so this is going to be a really tough decision. So let's look a little bit more in depth at these players. I'm actually going to open up on my computer notepad so I could kind of type up some stats so we could kind of do like a comparison. Like, I wish there was kind of like a player comparison tool on this so I could at least compare the guys. But first, let's look at SM Mackey, who is the OFD. He currently has been getting better. He is another offensive defenseman, though. That's the only thing. So he's not going to have the craziest defensive rating in the entire world. So we look at his defense. His defense is currently 3 stars. I'll write that down as a note. And he's signed for 1 more year at 1.1, and then he would be, I think, an RFA for 1 more year, so that's not too bad. Parayko is 24 years old already at this point, so he's already kind of older than Mackey is, which is interesting. I should write down their ages while I'm at it. I hope we make the right decision with whatever we decide to do, but all these guys should have some trade value, which is kind of nice. Parayko's a DFD. I don't know what his defensive rating is. 3-star defensively as well. So technically, despite being a DFD, he is just as good defensively as Mackey is, despite being an offensive defenseman for Mackey. So right now, I think Parayko would be the one on the hot seat out of the two of those guys, even though he is a DFD. Rodriguez is an interesting one because he's got that low elite potential. He's got very good defensive awareness by comparison to the other two. So I'll write down Rod. I won't write down Rodriguez just for time's sake. DFD. And yeah, 3.5 star defense. So still not crazy defensive stuff, but he's got great awareness in shot blocking. It's his stick checking that's a bit low. Or else he could be like a 5-star defensive player. He's also only 23, just like Mackey. So that's an interesting one. And then we go to the young defenseman in the minors in Tremblay, who, like I said, Tremblay was a very high up pick, but he hasn't quite developed just yet. He's had 2 years in the AHL so far. He's been decent. It looks like 17 goals in his first season is fantastic from a defenseman, but second season took a bit of a drop off. He is 22 years old already. He is also an OFD, just like Mackey, so that's interesting. So OFD, he has 2.5-star defense, which, to be honest, for a top 6 defenseman, probably not ideal. So if I'm thinking about trading some of these guys, Tremblay might be one of them. We do need a depth defenseman if I trade somebody. I could honestly use Cece as a depth defenseman. I don't think he's going to really jump up more in overall. So I think we'll hold on to Cece. But I think coming down to who jumps into that top 6 pairing, it would have to be between those 4 for sure. And if we're basically basing it off defensemen, the best defensive player is Rodriguez out of the bunch. He's also tied for the second youngest. Parayko, I think, for sure is on the hot seat here. He has not made the NHL yet at this point in time. Has had 4 years in the minors. And yeah, his defensive stats, like I said, aren't the best for a DFD. He does have good shot blocking and stick checking, but that awareness is a little bit on the lower end of things. So, trying to think. I guess technically the smart move would be to trade 1 DFD and 1 OFD. But we'd have to trade away 3 people, so, trying to think. So basically, if we're looking at our defensive pairings as is right now, Falk's a 2-way. Halinka's a DFD, I think? Yeah, Halinka's a DFD, so that's 1 2-way. Let me actually write this stuff down as well. I know this is going to take a while, just like we've been doing in my Islanders series episode late. So 2-way D, and then we have a DFD. Zherdev, I think, was an OFD, correct? Yeah, Zherdev's an OFD. I could think about trading Zherdev because he is a pending UFA. Moss, I think, was a DFD? No, a 2-way, right? Yeah, he scores goals and stuff like that, too. And then we have Metropolit, who is a DFD. And then we have Lyon, who would be in the AHL, like I said, is a 2-way. So technically, by that logic, if I just don't even consider Lyon, the 5 defensemen we already have on our team are 2-way, defensive, offensive, and nobody else. So having a second OFD kind of still makes sense, unless we trade Zherdev. Then we could technically use 2 OFDs, or 1 OFD and 1 DFD. So if I traded Zherdev and Parayko, it would free up a roster spot for an extra one of these guys. Technically, I can move Mackey into the top 4 and move out Zherdev instead. How good was Zherdev last season, out of curiosity? 23 points. How's his defensive stats? 3.5-star defense. He's actually not that bad defensively either. He's technically better defensively than Mackey is, but Mackey had a better year, I think, this season. 17 points, plus 16. Yeah, Mackey was definitely not that bad defensively. I also like that he's right-handed because we kind of need more righties on our defensive core. So that's another thing to kind of consider. Oh my goodness, there's so many things to consider here. So 2AD right, and then we have DFD left, OFD left, right? Yep. 2AD left, and DFD left. Holy, yeah. So a lot of left-handers on this defensive core. So if I got rid of Zherdev, that would get rid of one of the left-handed defensemen, which is good. And then if I got rid of Parayko, I'd get rid of a right-hander, which is probably not a bad idea. So hypothetically, if I was to trade away, Zherdev, I'd get Mackey into the top 4. I'd get Rodriguez into the top 6. So then we'd have 3 righties and 3 lefties, I think, on our defensive core. Because it would be, basically Falk, Halinka, for instance, Mackey, Moz, and then it would be Metropolit and Rodriguez. And then our depth defenseman would be CC. Or Tremblay, even for that matter, too. But if I want to, I should probably think about trading Tremblay. I just don't think he's going to get a chance to pan out here at this rate. And he doesn't really look the strongest on paper for an OFD, especially in terms of the offensive awareness. So I think I have an idea that we... Actually, I didn't want to press that. Damn, I must have pressed my shortcut. Oops. So many friggin' buttons on my keyboard. I think what I'm going to plan on trading is I'm going to be planning on trading Tremblay because I don't think I could get him in here, and he's not looking the greatest. And then from an NHL standpoint, I think since Jurdev's a pending UFA, I think he's on the hot seat. Even though he's decent enough, I think there's a chance Mackey could be as good as he is this next coming season. And then I think it's got to be Parayko as well. So Tremblay, Jurdev, and Parayko. Those three defensemen, I think, are worth moving out. There is, I think, some forwards too, wasn't there? Maybe not. No, there's no forwards I don't think that need to be moved out. So I think, yeah, basically we have in mind on who we want to trade away now, at least, which is good. Aside from that, we don't need anything in free agency, but we are going to need, technically, at least a cap whale. By moving out Jurdev, we are going to need even more cap space, or more of a cap whale, so we'll do that after we make the trade. So, if I trade Tremblay, Jurdev, and Parayko away, is there a team that would take all three of them on, and what would they give me in return, or can I just get back a really solid draft pick for these guys? Because Tremblay's got good value. Like I said, he was a top 10 selection. I just don't think I could get him in. Hypothetically, I could maybe get him in instead of CC as a depth option, but I just think that would stunt his growth. So if I did Jurdev, Tremblay, and then Parayko, all three of them are in the same area for trade value. We could get back my boy Cam Atkinson in a third-round pick. There's also 2 second-rounders and a medium top 9. There's also a second, a third, a medium 9, and a 7th. There's a medium elite goalie, not that I need one, and a second and a medium top 9. A medium top 6 forward, a second, and a medium 9. And then there's another medium 6, a second, and a medium 9. So there is teams that would offer me deals. But instead of getting an elite goalie prospect, I would prefer an unprotected first-round pick that I could use to maybe move up in next year's draft, like Sarah Taku was mentioning. So let's actually go to talk to the New York Islanders, because the New York Islanders, I don't think, are a super good team still at this point, if I'm not mistaken. I am going to take every single pick off their thing. They do want all these players, but they'd be over the cap, so that's probably why they need to give up a roster player in this deal. They don't want to give up their first rounder for next year, but would that even be close in value? It would. And actually, it says it would be acceptable. It doesn't say that they would be over the salary cap, so that's interesting. I don't know if that's cheesing AI if I get back a first-round pick for those three guys, but I think it's realistic in a sense because, I mean, these guys are all decent. Jurdev should help out the New York Islanders right now, for sure. He's a good defenseman, was a first-round pick. You look at Tremblay, he has the potential to become something good. I just don't think he will with our team. And then we also have Colton Parayko, who's probably going to end up capping out as like a high top 6, a low top 4 in a sense. So I think for the New York Islanders, basically just giving up one first-round pick, maybe a first-round pick next year, and getting 3 guys that were all drafted in the first round, I think that's a no-brainer from their standpoint. So, like, I feel like we could probably even get maybe a bit more back if I wanted. But we'll see if maybe I could throw in like an extra 4th rounder or something like that. And then, like Saturn Taco was saying, maybe we could use these picks to up ourselves in the draft next year if there's an elite defensive prospect or something like that. So let's try this deal. I don't know if it's necessarily realistic or what, but we're going to send Jurdev, Tremblay, and Parayko to the Islanders. We're going to get back a 1st and a 4th if it goes through. So will this work? It's rejected. Okay, so if I get rid of the 4th, would that work straight up? And that's still rejected, but it says the value is too far off. That's interesting. So they don't really want to give up the 1st. I wanted to get a high up pick if possible, but I don't know if I could really get that 1st unless I threw in like a 7th rounder from us, because we don't necessarily need that 7th rounder. Like moving up 6 rounds would be good. So let's throw in a 7th and see if that sweetens it enough. And that's still too far off apparently. Trying to see if I could find a way to get that 1st. If I can't get the 1st, we could easily take back multiple seconds and trade them to get in a 1st round, but Right now, I want to see if I could get myself a first rounder. Still rejected. Okay, what about a 5th rounder? We do have also multiple 4th, so we might be able to get something done here. Still too far off. What about a 4th rounder? Like I said, I have multiple 4ths. I'd be okay with giving up Dallas's 4th if it meant moving up 3 rounds. Nope, not enough. What about if I gave up the 2 4th rounders instead? I feel like this is kind of weird, but we'll still do it anyways. That's accepted. Okay, so we do give up 2 4th rounders and a bunch of defensive prospects to the Islanders. Maybe that helps them out in terms of winning a Stanley Cup before us. But Jurdev, Parayko, and also Tremblay are on their way to the Islanders. I didn't think we had a chance with Tremblay, but now at least our defensive core is ready to go the way we wanted to for next season. We also do have a lot of other defensive prospects eventually coming too, like for instance Ma, who's got elite potential, Jackman. So I don't think it's as big of a loss as it could look like. So I think that's a solid trade. Hopefully that first rounder becomes really good. Obviously, if it just becomes a middle pick, we could use that in our own first rounder to eventually move up and maybe grab ourselves an elite defenseman if there's one in it. Or we could trade for an elite defenseman with that pick too. So I think it's a win-win trade for both teams at the moment. All right, so with that said, now we got to go to free agency. How much, though, are we below the cap at the moment? I am curious on that. Quite a bit. We probably need, like, I don't know what the floor is. I'm going to guess we need to sign maybe a guy to like $7+ million. So there is going to be somebody to get signed to an outrageous contract, but it's more just to get us cap compliant. They'll be probably like a veteran type of guy for the AHL if we could find one. So maybe we'll find a veteran forward and a veteran defenseman for down in Springfield. Kind of like what we did last year with Nick Spaulding. There is this guy named Goalie who was a drafted player, 3rd round by the Sharks. Doesn't have good potential, but he's a 77/26, which isn't bad because that's kind of a fringe NHLer. He's only 26 years old. You know what? Let's give this guy a contract. Sure, you could play on our NHL team. You do want a one-way contract, which is not ideal. Are you listed as a 4th liner? No, you're listed as a depth forward. Huh. They'll still bring you in on a one-way deal like you want, but we're going to be giving you a lot more money. And you're going to basically just be kind of not a veteran fully, but that's the guy that could talk to our team down there, be a mentor for the minors. So bring in Ted Goalie. And are we cap compliant yet with that signing, or do I need to still sign one more player? Let's see this. Yeah, we're still a little bit low. That's just exactly what I thought. So let's go back to free agency, and we'll sign ourselves a veteran defenseman as well. Not that these guys necessarily will get playing time in the minors, but it's more just to give our AHL team a little bit more of a chance to go far in the playoffs this year. So I know we technically just offloaded some defensemen, but now we're just going to sign a random dude for the AHL as well. Let's go with who's better defensively, Reitz or Backlund. Reitz is 83, Backlund's 84. I guess we'll go for Reitz. The good thing with these 77 overall guys is they're actually pretty much like NHL players. So if there's a chance for some reason that our defensive core is not working out, we could call one of them up as a depth option in the NHL team. Like Reitz could actually be our depth defenseman instead of CC too. So I don't mind it. So let's do 3.1, get him signed up and see if we're cap compliant now. If we're not, we'll still look for another one, which we are cap compliant now, I think. That could be a little like a pixel below, but I can't really tell. So I think that is good. Okay, perfect. So with that said, I think that's all we need to do this offseason, which means let me double check the coaching staff and make sure we have our coaches set. I think there was all our coaches back. Oh yeah, we still need a goalie coach because I guess our goalie coach retired. So we'll do that because that's obviously an important thing. So let's just find ourselves one of those first. So teaching grades. And we will go with, I guess, this top guy, actually, for that matter. In Wojtek Stefan. He will be our NHL goalie coach. And I'm curious on where people are going to sign in free agency. So that's the next thing, of course. And we'll simulate a little bit probably of the season, but maybe not too much. It really depends on what setting up our team is looking like. Like, we might have to make more adjustments than we think still. So let's go to the end of the month and see what signings happen around the league, see if there's any off-season trades as well. But I'm hoping for some pandemonium again this off-season. So Stepan is on board, or not Stepan, Stefan. God damn. I don't need Jordan Binnington, but that's kind of interesting. If we didn't have McClement, that's really not a bad offer whatsoever. But like I said, we already have McClement. He's going to be our backup next season. That's why we'd let go of Ruskovich this offseason. Let's actually decline an editor trading block just because I don't really like these offers that are thrown at me right now because they don't really make sense for our team in terms of how I view it at least. But should be a good year ahead for this roster, I think, again. I'm curious on how the young defensive core is going to adjust after we traded away a couple people, but I'm hoping Mackey could kind of take that next step with Shurdev being out of our team. And hopefully Shurdev has a good year with the Islanders. Hopefully Parayko gets a chance with the Islanders, and same with Tremblay down the road. But I just didn't think Tremblay really fit our team anymore at this point, especially with those other elite prospects we have that are coming. So hopefully that trade made sense to you guys as well in terms of who we flipped away. All right, so we're at July 31st. Let's take a look at, first and foremost, the off-season trades that happened, see if there was any trades. There's usually a sign-and trade, which there wasn't this time around, so there was only our trade, of course, where we acquired the first for Shurdev, Tremblay, and it says 3 others, but literally 2 of those were draft picks, so I don't even know why it says that. But in terms of off-season trainings, or not trainings, what am I saying, signings, any crazy signings this off-season? Zach Hyman's a Montreal Canadian, that's a kind of bit weird. Looking for the big names, of course. Sean Bergenheim going to the Islanders. That's kind of funny because Sean Bergenheim actually played for the Islanders. And at the beginning of this franchise mode, I don't think he was there. I think he was in Tampa, but I could be wrong. Aside from that, Lupul's in Boston now. Anybody else interesting? Hagelin's in Florida. Hamonic in Anaheim. Looking for big signs. Ennis in Florida. Goodbranson's in Minnesota. I feel like Eric Goodbranson's brother used to play for their AHL team, Alex Goodbranson, because I did a Minnesota Wild franchise mode back in NHL 18. So if I remember right, I think his brother was a minor league player for them around this point, maybe. Aside from that, Eric Jellin is an Islander. Not a big name really, but still just mentioned it for no reason. Michael Ryder going back to the Montreal Canadiens is pretty cool. Obviously, that's where he was most known for, I would say. Brian Boyle is a Dallas Stars. Saad is in Washington now. Troy Brouwer goes to Florida. That's realistic because he did play for Florida. Paul Martin's in Boston now. Pavel Datsyuk also joins the Boston Bruins. Okay, so Boston getting some good players. Danny Heatley went to the Habs. I don't think I like that whatsoever. I mean, it is okay, I guess, because he's still in the Eastern Conference, but goddamn, that's really weird. Aside from that, Darren Helm's in New Jersey. Nick Cronwall's in Chicago. I don't know how Detroit fans would feel about that. It's like with Patrick Kane being in Detroit in real life now. Dan Hamio's going back to Nashville. That's kind of cool. Because obviously that's where he started his career. I don't know if he started there in this franchise mode. I feel like maybe he did, but he might have already been in Vancouver. I honestly don't know. Aside from that, Braden Coburn's a Hab now. Dan Girardi's a Bruin. Sven Berchi, our former depth forward, signed in Pittsburgh. Matt Perreault to Toronto. Val Nikushkin signed in Colorado. You love to see it. So at least there's some realism. We'd let go of Nikushkin, and he has joined the Avs. So, of course, the team that just beat us in the playoffs. Max Talbot's a Hab again. Kevin Klein's in Dallas. Kulikov to Boston. Benino to Florida. Daly to Anaheim. Peter Regan's a Leaf. That's gross. Brendan Gallagher in Atlanta. Brzgalov's a Shark. Setaguchi's a Canuck. Peter Mrazek's an Islander. There's some really weird signings here. Not as crazy as past years, I guess. But Pekarine's a Blue Jacket. Lundqvist signs in Colorado after his little bit of years in Anaheim. So Colorado's getting better and better, which is not great for us. Patrick Marleau signs with the team that just won the Stanley Cup, the Philadelphia Flyers. Eakin in Boston. Jordan Eberle goes to the Habs too. So he's going to play with Sam Gagner again, which is, kind of scary. Kyle Palmieri to San Jose. What else we got here? Markstrom's in Pittsburgh now. Anything else? Shattenkirk goes to Montreal, so he left Colorado. Shea to the Oats. Antropov still in Atlanta. Spezza signed with the Ducks. I mean, I would take that over him being a Toronto Maple Leaf, but still kind of weird when we lost to them in the Cup Finals back in 2007. What else we got here? Manson in Montreal. His dad used to play there, so that's kind of neat. Schwartz to Chicago. Chalmers to Vancouver. JVR gets a 6-year deal from the Buffalo Sabres. Hopefully they didn't overpay on him like they did with Skinner back in the day. Mark Giordano in New Jersey. Patrick Berglund gets a 6-year deal from Buffalo. I think he actually played for Buffalo too, right? Didn't he get a crazy contract with them? I can't remember. I got to look that up here, if it's actually on cap wages or not. But I feel like Patrick Berglund, when he was playing in Buffalo briefly, I'm pretty sure he got a big contract from them, but I don't know how much he got paid by them. That seems like a Buffalo type deal, though. Let's see. Patrick Berglund. Actually, never mind. He never did sign a contract, I guess, technically with Buffalo. He was just dealt to them. But there was a big contract he signed in 2017-18. So, yeah, he basically just got paid in Buffalo by the St. Louis contract originally. But he does go to the Buffalo Sabres in this year. Alec Martinez, Columbus. Connor Murphy, New York. What else we got here? D'Agostini's a Rager. Lewis is back in LA again. Trocheck in Columbus now. Lucic signed in Florida. Lombardi goes back to New Jersey again. OEL's back with the Coyotes again. He spent a little bit of a time away from them, but now he's back with them again. And then Semyon Varlamov got a 5-year deal from St. Louis. Palat gets a 4-year deal with Florida, which is kind of strange. Tarasenko gets a 4-year deal with Minnesota. Didn't he just sign with Minnesota in real life in the offseason this year? I think he did, right? I'm not just thinking things randomly. I feel like he did. I got to double check on Tarasenko. I'm pretty sure he did, but let's see. Yeah, he did. Okay, I was right. That's kind of funny. And lastly, we got Gus Nyquist left us for New Jersey. Okay, that's not too bad. Mike Green going to the Nashville Predators. Jeez. So they got their Shea Weber replacement already. And that's it. All right. Kind of an interesting offseason, not a crazy one, but still wanted to take a look at those signings because it's always fun just to see where players end up going in these throwback franchise modes. So let's actually advance to the next season, get our lineup set up, and see what our team is looking like. We will see where Ruskovich signed just for fun, even though he's not necessarily a legend here. I'm just kind of curious if he's getting a chance to play somewhere or if he's just going to be sitting in free agency like some goalies do. All right, so first and foremost, let me go to set captains, make sure the captains are still set up properly. So it's McKinnon, Cameron, and Falk. That is good. Let's go back on this and edit lines and see what we're working with here. Hopefully we still have some pretty solid results, and it looks like we do, potentially. Unless some of this is just for the preseason. But starting off with our goaltending tandem, it's going to be Vasilevsky and McClement. McClement getting a chance full-time this year after he was really good last year for a brief bit in the NHL. AHL's Dorsett and Samson. Defensively, we have Falk, Kalinka, Moss, Metropolit, Mackey, Rodriguez. Lyon's going to get sent down just to start off his NHL career as a minor leaguer. So Reitz will be the depth defenseman. We brought him in as a cap whale, but he's going to be better than CC anyways. So, yeah, some of these guys definitely will be in the NHL as early as next season. Lyon could make our top 6. Same goes with Ma and Jackman. Like, we are definitely a pretty big defensive farm right now. So our defensive core isn't really upgraded, I would say. Moss technically is now as good as Jurdev was. So, I mean, it's not bad, but I'm hoping Mackey could get some growth with a bit more ice time this year. Aside from that, we have on our forward side of things, Fata and Toffoli. Fata's up to an 88, and Toffoli's an 85. I am going to have to think about paying Fata big time. And then Toffoli's a pending UFA, I think, at the end of this year. So we have to think if we want to hold on to him or not. Aside from that, in the AHL, there is Andrew Shaw, who we could use as a depth forward if we need another depth forward. So we probably will call him up if there's not another option out there. Which actually, we need to get Alto in. He's up to an 80, so we'll call him up. Obergauer and Bemstrom could stay in the AHL, even though Bemstrom is listed as a depth forward. Yeah, there's no chance he's going to play on the lineup this early. So that's good. Probably Brock McGinn becomes their depth forward, I guess. Brock McGinn's listed as a 4th liner, though. I would not scratch Holden probably yet. Maybe I send Brock McGinn down and call up Shaw. Just because or else he might complain about ice time. So you know what? That's what we're going to do for one small adjustment. Is send Brock McGinn down just because he might complain. Center-wise, we have McKinnon, Cameron, Marcoux, Nelson, Jenner, Lowry, and goalie. And we could call up one more depth forward, apparently. So I guess we probably could still use Brock McGinn in this spot just because I don't want to really scratch these type of guys. I mean, Obergauer's a low top 6, so maybe he's actually okay to be a depth forward. He's only a low 6. He's 24 years old already. You know what? We'll use Obergauer as the depth option just because he doesn't have a huge ceiling anyways. So let's do that, and let's get our lineup set up for the season. So first line is going to be the same line as last year, which is McKinnon, Cameron, and Fada. Second line, Latti might make the jump. Yeah, Latti's probably going to make the jump to play with Marcoux and Toffoli. Actually, no, he's not. Nelson's going to take that spot. Excuse me, Brock. You get to get that chance for sure. I'm going to move Alto up. He wears number 1 as a forward. I need you guys' opinion. Do you want him to wear number 1? Kind of a bit weird for a forward. But, I mean, it could be very unique. Or we could obviously change his jersey number if we want to, too. But I don't really know what number I would change it to. That's so weird, though. Number 1 is a forward. Holden, Latti, and Alto. Can any of these guys win faceoffs? Latti can the best, so I guess we'll have Latti down the middle, even though he's not a center. Or I could use Boone Jenner in that second line spot, but I don't really want to move Alto down. I mean, I guess I could technically have Holden as a fourth liner. He is a sniper, though. So yeah, let's get goalie into that spot and move Jenner up. So it'd be goalie, Shaw, and Holden as that fourth line. That's actually pretty solid. It's pretty solid. Looks like we could maybe get better chemistry on offense, but I like that Marcoux has jumped up and he's generated some X factors, which is nice. Nelson playing the wing is okay, even though he's got good face-off stats. Yeah, I like the looks of this forward group. Really solid top 9. I think Alto is an underrated player too. We could get him onto the power play and he might produce really well on that third line, especially with a good guy like Latti on that line too. So that's looking nice. Defensively, Metropolitan Falk apparently. We'll probably go more with Holinka and Falk, and then Metro and Mackey. Moss is actually pretty solid, but apparently Metro does not work with Rodriguez. So we kind of have to split up these two. Yeah, we probably have to split up these two, but Moss might get power play time potentially, so that might be okay. Goalies look good. Scratches. Lowry being scratched, I'm not too sure on. I'm not too sure about having Hudson Lowry as a scratch. I would prefer him to be in the lineup over goalie, so let's get him in, and a goalie will be the healthy scratch instead. Lowry, though, has top 6 potential. I feel like he should maybe be higher than Boone, so maybe we'll go something like this instead, just to see how that works. Yeah, that looks that much better. I like the looks of this team, though, a lot. I think this team is better than last year in some ways, maybe a bit worse in other areas. Power play perspective, I don't really want to have forwards on every single part of this unit. Who's on the second unit? Mackey's not on a power play unit. Damn, Fada gets second line power play time? That's actually kind of insane. I'd probably prefer Fada on the first line power play and Toffoli on the second, if I'm being really honest. So let's get Fada in this spot. We'll get Toffoli onto the second unit. I don't know about having Boone Jenner on the power play. I don't think that's something that necessarily needs to happen. So let's move Latti up there. We'll move Holden up to there. And then we'll move Boone off the power play. And we will give power play time to Mackey, because he's also an OFD. So we'll make those adjustments. I guess technically 5 offensive guys could play on this line. Doesn't really matter too much. Penalty kills, Marcoux and Shaw. I would probably prefer somebody better to play there. So let's go again with Fada, because Fada is a 2-way forward. Shaw doesn't really need penalty kill time. So I'm probably not going to even put him on any unit. That looks good, though. That looks good a lot. I think this team is good enough to make the playoffs for sure. And then from an AHL perspective, let's just go best lines and see who is in the lineup or isn't in the lineup. There's nobody scratched, so that's good. Goaltending is set up already. Offensively, let's get our better prospects higher, so Brock McGinn moves down a little bit in the lineup. That's a defenseman playing forward, which I don't really like, but it's not a negative chemistry, so I will not complain. This guy could go down. Bork's a low elite, but he's not developing really, so he could stay first line. Looks good. Yeah, this looks not too bad. We'll split up a couple people maybe here, just to try and get that chemistry better. Yeah, this looks good. This looks good. I think both teams should make the playoffs at this rate, which is good. So that's all set up. I don't think there's anything I need to do really before we start up the season. I do not think so. We're like 30-something minutes into this recording. Probably I've had to cut some out of me clearing my voice. Maybe not. Just trying to see if there's anything else we need to do before we start up. I don't think so. I do not think so. So let's actually, first and foremost, I did want to take a look at where Ruskovich signed, but I also want to take a look at first some contract extensions potentially already. So how much is Fada trying to get already? And I'm kind of scared if I do give him a contract already, he might fall off a cliff, but I do want to get him back again. He only wants a 2-year deal here, but he does not want a lot of money. And since he also has the organizational interest, we're already going to sign him to a 2-year deal. I would go longer term, but it seems like right now he kind of wants something short. So let's do it just over 3.5 and get him re-signed because he's one of our best players at the moment. I don't even know why I moved my face down here, but Laddie's RFA. Toffoli is a pending UFA. Like I said, I'm not too sure if Toffoli's in the long run for our team, but he also doesn't really want that much. So maybe we'll try and re-sign him next episode if you guys want to bring him back. Everybody else pretty much on this team, though, is like an RFA, except for guys like Andrew Shaw and such. So it'll be nice to be able to afford to bring back probably everybody on this team again. So we're doing some pretty good cap work, I think, with this team. All right, let's go to the player search thing and just see where Ruskovich signed, and then we'll start simulating a bit. We probably will go to like December the 1st or something in this episode, or maybe we'll go further if our team's doing really good. But let's go see where Ruskovich signed. Our former backup goalie, just for fun. Apparently no results found. Did I misspell his last name? Oh yeah, I did. Oops. Ruskovich. So there's no E in it? I don't even remember how it was spelled. No, it's not like that. Let's just put Rusk and see if it comes up. Because I do not remember how to spell his last name. I can't even find him now. What is his last name spelled like? Ruskovich. Oh, wait, I think I know. Yeah, I think I know how it's spelled. I don't know. Oh, maybe did I put it in first name instead of last name? I don't know. Let's go here again. No, I think I remember how it's spelled. Ruskovich. Right, Rusk. Oh man, Ruskovich. Is it Vich like, or is that what I just literally did? I don't know how it's spelled, man. I can't remember. Okay, we're gonna have to look through every team's goaltenders or something like that, or just go to the free agency thing first and see if he's still there. Because I don't not remember how it's spelled. Let me just sort alphabetically, see if he actually did sign somewhere. But I don't remember how his last name was spelled, which is pretty bad. But let's see. He's not there, so he definitely signed with the team, which is good to see. Let's go to view contracts and look at everybody's goaltenders and see if he's on an NHL team. He might be in the AHL, though, which is a chance on that. So let's go through this, see if we could find our former boy. Not that it really matters too much, but kind of just want to know where he went, so I would know if we actually have to face him at all in terms of the future playoffs. Looks like Tuomainen signed with the Florida Panthers, if you were wondering on Tuomainen. He's playing with Ben Bishop now. But where is Ruskovich? Where is he? I'm feeling like he's in an AHL for some reason, just because he's only like a 79. Like, I feel like the NHL is too good for him, almost, in a sense. And the answer to that is yes, he would be. Okay. So let's just sort by the ones that actually have contracts in the system, because that'd make it easier. See if we can find our boy here. Is this guy named Patrick out of curiosity? No, Peyton Patrick, damn. I wanted a meme player, but no. Where are you, Ruskovich? I know you're somewhere. You definitely signed a contract, so please show up so I could find out where you are. And then that way I could get started into simulating a bit. I just want to know where he is, though. Because he should have got a contract based on he's not in free agency anymore. I honestly don't know how to spell his name, and I still can't think of it. It's weird. I'm going to be kicking myself. Oh, there he is. He signed with the Tampa Bay Lightning on a 2-way contract? Oh, no, a 1-way contract at $550, but he will be in the minors for Tampa. And how to spell his name is actually like this, so I know for the future at least. Ruskovich. Oh, Ruskovich, basically. Okay. Got to remember that, at least. But now he's going to be in the AHL playing with the Zikov guy. And he's going to be behind Ray Emery and also Linus Ullmark, who Tampa was able to re-sign. All right. let's get into a bit of the 2018-19 season. See what's going to happen here. See if we're a good team or not. Let's get through the preseason first and foremost, but should be a good year for this team, and I'm assuming the coach thinks we're good enough to make the playoffs based on that too. But let's do some, let's go, when do we normally go again? 5v5 focused? Let's just do 5v5 focused again. And season goal, he says we're good enough to make the playoffs. Sure. That's good. That's exactly kind of what I expected. I should have done maybe some more off-season training. I always forget about doing that stuff now, but maybe I should have done some of that this episode, but I completely forgot again. So, Fod already rejected the offer. He says it's not enough considering boosting the cash and get back to him. So, I think he already knows that he's going to be worth even more if he doesn't accept right away. So, we got to get him soon, or else he's going to be kind of costly, I think, this offseason. Like, we might end up having to pay him more than Cameron, potentially like $7 million bucks. So let's go back to him again and try and get him signed up here. What's his asking price now? Around the same, but he only wants 4 years now, so at least it's a bit more term, which is good. You know what? I'm going to give him exactly what he's asking for, but a little bit extra money just because he's probably one of my favorite players in the series behind guys like McKinnon and Cameron. The way he played last season, very much telling that this guy could be actually a really underrated player. He was good at the AHL in terms of scoring before he came to us, so it's good to see him finally start to developing. And he's accepted the offer. He says the cash was a concern, but other aspects of your offer closed the deal. So he didn't really like the money, but since he had the organizational interest, he accepted. So at least he's back for 4 years, kicking in next season, which is awesome. So very happy to get Fodder re-signed, because I think this could be a big year for him. All right, 3-1 in the preseason. Let's take a look at some stats just for fun. And then we'll probably, like I said, maybe go to December the first round in this episode. But in terms of our preseason stats, so let's take a look at this stuff. McKinnon's on 5 points. Marcoux was point per game. Looks like in general we had a pretty good preseason. Holden and Lowry actually were really good. So that's also very promising. Young also was also very good. So a couple of the young guys had a great preseason. Hopefully they have good rookie seasons ahead as well. And then from a goaltending perspective, Vasi was good. McClement not so much, but we know that McClement can play during the regular season, at least because last year he was absolutely fantastic. So hopefully he has a good season like that. Like, I don't expect him to do as good as last year, but if he could do anything close to that, we will have a very good season ahead. So let's get through a little bit of the season and just see how this team's doing. Take it a little bit slow just to see if we're actually ready to simulate into being a playoff team or not again. Like I said, we're going to be probably a playoff team, but I don't know always what this team is made of. Like, are we a type of team that can make it really far in the playoffs? Are we a type of team that's out in the first round again? Or is this team learned enough now on how to win in playoff scenarios? So with that said, we have a pretty busy first month. We have 5 games, actually 6 games this month against the Vancouver Canucks alone. That's one crazy way to start off a season. Like, literally 2 games here, 1 there, 2 in this week, and then 1 there. So 6 of our first, 10, 15 games or something like that is against the Vancouver Canucks. So we're going to be pretty tired of seeing them, but maybe they're not that good. I'm pretty sure last year they weren't that good, so maybe we could have a really good first month because of that. So let's see how this team is doing and see if we could string together some wins early this year. Philip Larson on waivers. He is a depth defenseman, but technically now we have that other guy assigned. That other guy being Reitz, but Philip Larson actually used to play with the Oilers in real life, but he's not very good. Probably solid at the AHL level. Yeah. Solid at the AHL level. Only 1 game in the NHL with the Bruins last year, or a couple years ago, but hasn't played since. So we're not going to claim him, but I appreciated their Chicago. Also, holy crap, man, I sneezed 2 times, and I feel like crap right now. Goddamn. For some reason, after I sneeze, always like I can barely breathe, it feels like sometimes. So shout out to allergies, but let's continue simulating. We did win our first game of the season 4-2. Lose our second game 6-5, but Calgary is a good team if I'm not mistaken. So not terrible. Do lose to Vancouver in our second meeting, lose to Washington there. Little bit of a weird start to the year, but obviously early in the season, so this shouldn't be telling of the entire season. 9-1 win over the Canucks there, damn. That's a response. Looks like our offense has been pretty solid so far. There's a 2-1 victory over the Canucks again. 7-2 win there. Vancouver again, 3-2 shootout, lost still a point. And our last game of October is a 4-1 win. So because of the Vancouver Canucks, we have an 8-3-2 record. We beat them a total of 4 of the 6 meetings. Lost to them in regulation once and into a shootout once. So they've been helping us get a lot of points here early on, which is nice. But this is a very solid start to the year for our team. We are currently first place in our division with like the exact same amount of games played as every other team. So if this continues, this team might have its best season yet, which is great to see. Okay, let's do one more month of simulation. We do have a lot of games against the Kings this month and the Sharks. So I guess it's kind of like the California schedule. San Jose there, LA there, San Jose there, LA there, LA there, San Jose there. Like, the schedule is always so weird in Custom League. I don't really know what it is, but let's go to November 30th, and then we'll take a look at some stats and seeing if there's anything we need to address before next episode. We start off this month with a 2-game losing streak, which isn't ideal, but we do bounce back with 2 wins, which is good. Both good goal-scoring games and solid defensive efforts. There's another win over the Sharks. Kings is an OT loss, but still a point. And Corbin Rodriguez has been injured with a sprained ankle, so that's unfortunate. He will only be out for a week, so let's just go replace player on that, but it does suck considering this is his first season in the NHL fully. Looks like our team's still doing pretty good without him, though, which is nice to see. So this team is definitely still doing good despite all those defensive adjustments in the offseason. I wonder how the Islanders are doing with all those guys I traded them. Hopefully they're playing all those guys, because it would be kind of nice if that trade worked out well for both teams, at least right now. We stopped the sim because I can't see what's going on here. Okay, we did beat the Sharks there. We have one more game left this month. And Talink has now been injured with a sore shoulder. I guess I'll go replace player on that. We do lose to the Blues, but we are 15-7-3 at November the 30th in our first 25 games, which has us first place in our division. So looking pretty good here early on, which is good to see. And if you're wondering about the New York Islanders, they're actually in a playoff spot right now with a 17-10-2 record. So that pick that we got from them is going to probably end up being a late first rounder at this rate. But those players we traded them are actually helping that team out, it seems like. So maybe we already want to trade that first to another team for a future first. I don't really know. Or we just hold on to it all year round. But our team is doing good so far this year. Let's see our individual team stats here. So currently we're 11th in goals for, so not too bad offensively. We are the second best defensive team. So like I said, despite making defensive adjustments, this team is looking good. We are 10th on the power play and 8th on the penalty kills. So that's pretty good. I don't think we really need to adjust anything based on that. Like, it's not like our offense has been lighting the world on fire, but it definitely has been better than prior years. Also, apparently Marcoux is leading our team in points, which is definitely not who I expected at this point in time. So that's interesting. Let's take a look at this. But really good to see Marcoux turn into a very good offensive player, because like I said before, I was expecting him more to be a defensive guy, and now he's right around point per game this season, which is awesome. He is definitely starting to take that next step. He's also a plus player for one of the only times in his career. Does have 3 shorthand assists, 4 short power play points. I can barely talk, apparently. Isn't winning a lot of face-offs, which is kind of surprising. But still, Kenny Marcoux is a beast, and he's barely making any money for 5 more years. But McKinnon's on 22 points. Cameron's on 18. Lowry's on 15 as a rookie. Wow. So Lowry had a great preseason, and he's showing me that he's actually a good NHLer too. I was a little bit skeptical because of his offensive awareness rating, but his passing is fantastic. And he has not a lot of pass assists so far this season, but he's scoring goals, which is kind of weird. So he is assimilating quite well to start off his NHL career, especially considering that third line usually doesn't pick up a lot of offense. Right now they're doing good, I guess. So that would be Lowry, Alto, and I think Holden is that third line. I can't remember. We also have Brock Nelson on 15 points. So yeah, Lowry and Nelson are doing the same amount of points, which is kind of weird, but looks like some really good depth scoring. Boone Jenner's on 8 points. Not too bad of a start for Boone. How did he do last year? 24 points. So he's on pace for a better season, probably. From a left wing perspective, we have Lockdown 20 points as not a rookie, but as a 4th-year guy. He's on pace for a way better year than last year as well. So some of these guys are starting to take that next step, and that's absolutely huge for this team. So shout out to Lottie, looking really good. His ice time's fine as well. But speaking of rookies, Jyrki Aalto has came in and he's got 14 points in his first 25 games. I guess he's been setting up Lowry because he's also a playmaker, but solid start for the 20-year-old elite potential player after 2 AHL seasons. So I think this team is starting to finally find its depth scoring. And then Holden's on 7 goals and 11 points, so that's pretty solid too. I'm really liking the way that third line's playing. I mean, some of them do have power play time. Aalto doesn't have any power play time, but he's simulating still really good. So we'll keep him off the power play for now, but eventually he will be a power play guy. From a right wing perspective, Toffoli on 18 points has been really good. He is a pending UFA, of course. Fada's on 15 points. A bit of a slow start for Fada, goal scoring wise and point wise. So maybe we just overpaid on him, but it is what it is. He is definitely still doing well. He does have shorthanded goals and all that, so I will take it. But I hope he does have a better second half of the season. Also, Shaw on 6 points isn't bad. This is the first time he's played in the NHL at 25 years old, but not really a huge offensive guy, but he's been a decent defensive bottom 6 option. From a defensive standpoint, we have Falk on 9 points plus 6, so our defensive core really isn't getting a lot of offense, but good plus minuses, which is nice to see. Metro's on 8 points plus 7, Moss 7 points plus 7, Rodriguez 7 assists and plus 8, Mackey 5 points and plus 9. So Mackey is not really doing much offensively for an OFD, but it is what it is. Alinka 4 assists plus 9. He's been very aggressive compared to every other defenseman, apparently. And then Reitz already has an assist in 3 games. Not bad. From a goaltending perspective, Vasilevsky's rocking a .916, and McClement, not off to the greatest start in terms of win-loss ratio, but he has been absolutely incredible to start his NHL career. Last year, he was really good. This year, he's even taking it up a notch so far in 6 games. Like, how does he have a career .930 save percentage through 15 games? Like, I don't know if it's just our team being good defensively in front of him or what, but shout out to McClement. Very good stats, I would say, on this team. Like, I don't think there's anybody I'm really pissed off with. I think, obviously, I would like to see maybe a bit more goal scoring out of some guys like Fada. But in general, I think the depth scoring is good. The defensive play is good. The goaltending is good. Probably we don't need to make any adjustments in the next episode up until the trade deadline, because at the trade deadline, we'll see if there's anything we need to adjust still. But I'm liking the way this team's playing. Like I said, nobody's point per game, but when guys like Marcoux and stuff like that are starting to take that next step, Lottie as well, I just don't think there's really much problems at the moment. Especially that third line, though, it's been most impressive, I think. Lowry, Aalto, and Holden. That's been helping our scoring quite a bit, too. So there is that. Let's take a look quickly also around the league. I just want to see who's leading the NHL in points and stuff like that as well. Let's see who's the best team in the NHL right now. Pittsburgh again, 21-8-1. Goddamn, Washington behind them. The worst team right now, Philadelphia, 9-17-0. That's actually kind of insane because didn't they just win the cup too against Columbus? That is really weird. That is crazy. Okay, so shout out to the Philadelphia Flyers. They're going to win a Stanley Cup and then maybe win a draft lottery the year afterwards. All right. Let's take a look at some stats around the league as well where we're at it, just to see who's leading the NHL through these early stages. But I'm assuming it's somebody like Ovechkin again, just because he's been good the last 2 years. Yep, 41 points in 27 games. And then Crosby's up there, Backstrom. Barkov is making his name up there. Okay, so Nashville might be getting better and better, which is good to see. How much is he getting paid? Only 5.895. That's pretty good. Shout out to Barkov. Best goal scorer so far is Danny Heatley, though. He's found his game again. Danny Heatley at 37 years old in Montreal is becoming Danny Heatley of 2006-07. Absolutely insane. Last year he only had 32 goals combined, but this year he's on a 25 goals and 31 game pace, which is on pace for I don't even know how much, but he must be playing next to Sam Gagner or something like that, my guess. We should take a look at that for fun. Best defenseman right now is Dougie Hamilton, of all people. Not really surprising there, I guess. Goaltending best so far in terms of wins and all that is Holtby. Best and save percentage at the moment, Corey Crawford, potentially. All right. Best rookie right now is Timo Mackey of the Montreal Canadiens. So Montreal must be an interesting team, because I'm pretty sure, obviously, they have a lot of solid vets, but they also have drafted well recently, I think, too. I got to take a look at them for fun. Even though I know some of you guys don't want me to show you the lines, but Okay, so Heatley's playing on a second line with Max Talbot and Peter Mueller, but he has that many goals. So most of them should be power play, right? 6 of them on the power play. Still, that would be 19 goals next to Max Talbot, who's only got 10 points, and Peter Mueller, who's got 19. So Peter Mueller's been a good playmaker, but Max Talbot down the middle between them is kind of strange that Heatley would be scoring that much goals. I expected him to be up here with Gagne and this Mackey guy, but no. Interesting. So Montreal is putting together quite an interesting team at the moment. That's a lot of grit in that scratch too. Interesting. I kind of want to take a look at some other teams too briefly. I know you guys don't want to go through the lines, but Nashville, Hall, Barkov, and Sagan. Barkov's now playing down the middle. Are all these guys signed long term or no? Ooh. Okay. Looks like they're signing most of these guys long term, which is good. Yeah, I think Nashville's still a really solid team. Ramsey's going to be good. Yeah, this is a fun-looking team. And then Yossi playing with Mike Green because they signed Mike Green in free agency is crazy. Relax there. What's another random team I want to look at for fun? What's another team? Actually, we'll take a look at Pittsburgh because they're top of the league right now. Malkin, Crosby, Stahl. Baertschi's playing second line with Stepan and Tanner Pearson. And Sven Baertschi, we let him go because he was more of a depth forward for us. 18 points in 30 games. Goddamn. Pittsburgh definitely is paying their top guys a lot of money because their bottom 9 is not super strong. But they are still really good. 11.26 for Sid. Damn, 14 for Malkin. That's insane because we're playing like $7 million for Cameron. Malkin's getting 14. Jesus. And then Kyle Quincy's getting 4. Playing next to Letang on 7.8. Their defense, of course, pretty good. And then their goaltending, Matt Murray and Marc-Andre Fleury still there. But yeah, they are definitely paying some guys a lot of money, so that's why their depth isn't as good, which is a typical Pittsburgh team when you think about it. Because most of the Pittsburgh teams that have won cups, they've had good depth, but most of their top-end guys are the best players on that team, and then they kind of just have a bunch of random people, like Connor Sheary, for instance, or Jake Gensel at the time, who would come in and help them out. So that's kind of interesting. All right, I don't think there's anything else we need to do. So anyways, guys, that's going to do it for this episode of Edmonton Oilers Throwback 2010 Franchise Mode. So in next episode, we will simulate more up till the trade deadline. This team's looking very good so far early on in the season. I'm hoping it continues like that. I think obviously we should be a playoff team this year, which is good to see. And I'm hoping that if we get to the trade deadline and we're still at this point, that we might not even need to make any deals and we might just have to see how this young team does. But hopefully we have learned from our mistakes, and hopefully at least this year we can maybe get back to like round 2, 3 area, maybe a cup finals, just so this team can get more experience under the belt. So that way we're not getting knocked out in the first round like we've done for the last couple years, I guess. So let me think that below, and I'll see you guys next time.